Let's talk about something powerful, the kind of emotional experience that doesn't just attract a man but sticks with him, the kind that lingers in his thoughts, his body, his instincts. There's something powerful about not knowing everything. We don't always realize it, but the human mind is hardwired to chase what it doesn't fully understand. And in dating, especially when it comes to men, this couldn't be more true. Think about the last time you were captivated by someone. I don't mean someone you found attractive, I mean someone who stayed in your mind after they left the room. Odds are it wasn't because they gave you every detail of their life, it was the way they made you feel. It was that you couldn't quite figure them out yet, and that made you want more. Mystery is not about being cold. It's not about being distant or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about not putting your entire soul on the table by the second date. It's about resisting that urge we all feel when we like someone, to immediately show them everything, to prove we're worth their time, to tell our whole life story in the name of connection. But here's the problem. The faster you give it all away, the less room you leave for someone to discover you. Men are driven by pursuit, not just the chase for a woman, but the chase for depth, for substance. When you become an open book with every page turned in the first chapter, there's no curiosity left to follow. He doesn't need to dig, he doesn't need to wonder. And if there's nothing to wonder about, there's nothing pulling him back. We don't fall in love with people who dump all their stories in our lap. We fall in love with moments, glimpses, clues. That one thing they said that makes us go, there's more to her, I want to know what that is. The art is in the reveal. You can be an open person and still have mystery. It's about showing parts of yourself in doses, not because you're hiding, but because you value your story enough not to throw it at someone all at once. When a man earns more of your layers, he values them. He appreciates the moments he gets a little deeper. It becomes meaningful. Let me give you an example. You're on a date and he asks, "So, what do you do?" Most people would give their job title, explain what it entails, maybe even go into why they do it. But imagine instead you say, "That's a good question. It's something I do, but it's not what I am." And then you smile and shift the question back to him. That small pivot, that subtle dodge with intention, it creates intrigue. He'll be thinking, wait, what does she mean? Why didn't she just answer that? Now later, if he earns that deeper conversation and you do open up about your career or what drives you, it's powerful, because now it's a moment, not just an answer. Mystery also means being okay with not filling every silence. Being okay with someone not knowing where you are every second. You don't need to text him every detail of your day. You don't have to reply the moment he messages. That space? That's where imagination lives. That's where emotional investment builds. He's not thinking, oh, she's ignoring me. He's thinking, what's she up to? And that thought creates presence. It puts you in his mind even when you're not there. When you're mysterious, you're not cold. You're contained. You have emotional discipline. You're not desperate for him to know everything right now. And that says more about your confidence than any story you could tell. It says, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm letting you discover me. And that is irresistible. The truth is, the most captivating women are the ones who feel like a journey, a place with more to explore, the kind of woman you could be with for years and still feel like there's more to learn, not because she's holding back, but because she lives a rich inner life that she shares selectively. And in a world where everyone is oversharing, overposting, over-explaining, selectiveness becomes seductive. You don't need to be a mystery to everyone. But to the man you're building something with, a little mystery is what keeps him showing up, keeps him asking, keeps him chasing, not because you're playing a game, but because you're giving him the gift of discovery. And that kind of connection isn't just more exciting, it's more real, because when someone has to earn the deeper parts of you, they value you on a level that surface-level intimacy can't touch. There's a fine line between wanting someone and needing them, and that line makes all the difference in how a man feels around you. You can admire him, appreciate him, even deeply care about him, but the moment that admiration turns into neediness, something in the dynamic shifts. It stops feeling like love and starts feeling like pressure. Men, like anyone else, want to feel respected. They want to feel seen and valued, not just for what they do, but for who they are. But respect is not the same as putting someone on a pedestal. In fact, the most attractive kind of respect is the kind that comes from a woman who already respects herself. She doesn't need to inflate a man's ego to keep him around. Her energy says, "I admire you, but I don't need to shrink for you. I can see your value without forgetting my own." Neediness, on the other hand, is that energy that says, "Please like me, please choose me, please don't leave." It might be subtle, it often is. It shows up in over-explaining, in apologizing when you've done nothing wrong, in anxiously waiting for a reply and then pretending you didn't. It shows up when your mood depends on his attention, or when your plans dissolve the moment he becomes available. And while it might come from a place of care, it feels heavy, it feels like pressure, and pressure kills attraction. But when a woman carries herself with confidence, real grounded confidence, everything changes. A confident woman doesn't need a man's attention to feel whole. She wants connection, yes. She's open, she's warm, she's emotionally available. But she doesn't hand over her sense of identity just because she's dating someone. You can respect a man without making him your source of self-worth. You can admire his drive, his character, his strength, but still make it clear that you are whole without him. That's the energy that makes a man lean in. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because he can feel that being with you is a choice, not a transaction, not a rescue mission. Here's what most people miss. Men don't fall in love with women who depend on them emotionally for validation. They fall in love with women who make them feel inspired to show up. A man wants to know that if he's in your life, it's because he adds to it, not because he completes it. That's the difference between love and need. When you operate from respect without neediness, you also create space for a man to step up. You don't chase, you don't force conversations, you don't try to decode every message. You hold your standard, and by doing so, you invite him to meet you, not just take from you. It's not about having walls, it's about having a backbone. And it's about knowing that your value doesn't increase or decrease based on whether someone sees it. You already know your worth, you're just offering someone the opportunity to recognize it. Men can feel when a woman is secure in herself. It's in her body language, her tone, her decisions. She's not over-explaining why she didn't reply right away. She's not rearranging her whole life to prove she's interested. She's present, she's kind, but she's not trying to win a prize. She is the prize. And the irony? That's exactly what makes her irresistible. Because neediness repels. It makes love conditional. It says, "I like you because you make me feel better about myself." But true respect without neediness says, "I like you because of who you are. And I like me too." In the early stages of dating, that energy sets the tone. When a man senses that you're not waiting by the phone, not anxiously analyzing every move, not afraid to walk away if something feels wrong, he respects you more. And with respect comes real attraction, the kind that's not just physical, but deeply emotional. You don't need to dim your desire. You can be open about your interest, but let your interest come from strength, not fear. Want him because you see something special in him, not because you're afraid of being alone. Like his mind, like his humor, like how he treats you, but don't make him the center of your world. When you carry yourself this way, a man doesn't just feel liked, he feels chosen. And that feeling, that's what keeps him coming back, because he knows you could be just fine without him, but you still want him. Every man wants to feel like he matters, not in some ego-driven, look how strong I am kind of way, but in a deeply human way. He wants to feel like he adds something to your life, that his presence isn't just noticed, but appreciated, that when he shows up for you, it makes a difference. And when a man feels that way, when he feels like your hero, it taps into one of his most powerful emotional drives. Now, being someone's hero isn't about doing grand dramatic things all the time. It's not about rescuing you from danger or solving all your problems. That's not what this is about. It's about a man feeling useful, feeling like he brings value, feeling like he is enough in the moments when he shows up, listens, supports, or protects. Men are often taught that their worth is measured in how they can provide or fix things. And while that can be toxic if taken too far, there's a healthy truth inside it. Men do want to feel needed, but not in a desperate, clingy way. In a way that says, I'm strong and independent, but I see what you bring to the table, and I love that about you. When a man feels like your hero, he feels connected. He feels seen. He feels like there's a role for him in your life. And the moment he stops feeling that, when he feels like he's unnecessary or replaceable, something in him shuts down. He might not even know why, but he starts to detach. He starts to look for that sense of purpose somewhere else, even if it's subconsciously. That's why it's not about pretending you can't do things on your own. Of course you can. You're capable. You're powerful. You've built your life without waiting for someone to save you. But giving him space to contribute doesn't make you weaker. It makes the relationship stronger. It creates emotional glue. It might be something as simple as asking his opinion on a decision, even if you already have an idea of what you want. It's not manipulation. It's inclusion. It's saying, your thoughts matter to me. Or maybe it's letting him take care of something for you, even if you could do it yourself, just because you know he likes feeling helpful. This doesn't mean stroking his ego every second. It means noticing. When he offers support, acknowledge it. When he protects your boundaries, appreciate it. When he lifts a burden off your shoulders, even just emotionally, show him that it mattered. A simple, that really helped me, or I felt better after we talked, goes so much further than we realize. Men often aren't the best at reading emotional nuance. They don't always know when they're doing something right. But when you reflect it back to them, it clicks. They feel like their actions have impact. And when a man feels impactful, he wants to do more. He starts looking for more ways to show up. That's when he becomes invested, not just in you, but in how he makes you feel. There's also something important to say here. Letting him feel like a hero doesn't mean making yourself smaller. It doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior or lowering your standards. Quite the opposite. A high-value woman who holds her boundaries and still allows a man to add to her life. That's what makes him feel like he's winning, like he earned a place beside someone incredible. It's not the damsel in distress energy that makes men addicted. It's the woman who clearly doesn't need anyone, but who chooses to let him step in anyway. That subtle difference is everything. She doesn't need a hero. She just sees the hero in him, and that brings it to the surface. When a man feels like your hero, you become his soft place to land and his reason to rise at the same time. You become the one person in his life who sees the best in him and makes him want to be even better. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence inspires it. And that's a rare feeling for a man. A woman who makes him feel powerful without emasculating him, respected without fearing her independence, wanted without being needed. That's the kind of woman a man doesn't just desire, but devotes himself to. Not because she begged for it, but because in her presence, he feels like the best version of himself. And once he feels that, he won't want to feel that way with anyone else. There's a moment in every relationship that determines whether it will deepen or dissolve. It's the moment when one person brings something vulnerable to the table, a fear, an insecurity, an honest truth, and waits to see what happens next. That moment is where emotional safety is either created or broken, and emotional safety, more than anything else, is the foundation of lasting connection. For men, emotional safety doesn't always look the way we expect. A lot of men aren't taught to be in touch with their feelings. Many have been conditioned to suppress emotion, to power through pain, to be strong in the most limited, outdated sense of the word. So when a man finds someone with whom he feels safe enough to drop the armor, even just a little, it's a big deal, it's rare, and it's powerful. When a man feels emotionally safe with you, he relaxes, he lets his guard down, he stops performing and starts being real. That's when you begin to see the full picture of who he is, not just the version he shows the world, but the one underneath, the one with fears, doubts, and dreams he doesn't share with just anyone. You can't force emotional safety, but you can create the conditions for it, and it starts with how you listen. Most people hear to respond, not to understand. But when you truly listen to a man, when you make him feel like he's not going to be judged, corrected, or dismissed for what he's sharing, you make space for authenticity, and that space feels like oxygen to someone who's used to holding his breath. This doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or lowering your standards. It's not about making yourself a container for every emotional wound he's ever had. It's about being someone who meets honesty with presence. When a man says, "I'm struggling with something," you don't need to fix it. You don't need to analyze it. You just need to let him feel that he's not weak for admitting it. That moment of acceptance, that's emotional safety. It's when he realizes he can be imperfect and still be enough in your eyes. And once he experiences that with you, he doesn't want to go back to the kind of connection that demands perfection. Emotional safety also means consistency. It's knowing that your mood doesn't swing so wildly that he has to second guess whether it's safe to bring something up. It's not walking on eggshells, it's trust. When a man knows that you're emotionally stable, even when you're upset, even when you disagree, he feels more open. Because deep down, we all want to be seen, not for who we pretend to be, but for who we actually are. That also means you model the same behavior. If you want him to be open, you have to be willing to be real. That doesn't mean oversharing or dumping your entire emotional history on the table. It means being honest about how you feel without expecting him to manage your emotions for you. When you speak your truth with clarity and calm instead of chaos, you lead by example. You show him that vulnerability isn't a liability, it's strength. And here's the thing. Emotional safety isn't always about the big moments. It's built in the small ones. When he tells you something that didn't go well at work and you don't jump in to fix it, you just say, "That sounds really frustrating." When he shares something from his past and you don't flinch or pry, but gently let him know that he's safe with you. It's in those moments that a man starts to feel like, "I can breathe here. I don't have to perform. I'm not being evaluated." Because the truth is, a man can find physical attraction in 1,000 places. But emotional safety? That's what makes him stay. That's what makes him trust. That's what makes him invest. Because now it's not just about chemistry, it's about connection. It's not just someone to impress, it's someone to build with. When he feels emotionally safe, he stops looking for escape routes. He starts showing up more. He becomes more generous, more present, more willing to give, because he knows he won't be punished for being human. And in that safety, love grows, not the shallow kind that burns out fast, but the kind that lasts because it's rooted in truth. And once he's experienced that with you, it's almost impossible to walk away from, because emotional safety isn't just comforting, it's home. There's something undeniably attractive about a woman who's playful, not just funny, not just fun, but someone who brings energy, wit, and a little spark of unpredictability into the room. When you pair that with a challenge, when she's not just warm, but also not easily won over, you create a dynamic that makes a man lean in, because now he's not just entertained, he's intrigued. Men don't fall in love with women who give them everything up front. They fall in love with the ones who make them work for it, just a little. Not in a manipulative way, but in a way that says, "I'm going to enjoy this, and I want to see if you can keep up." That's where the playful challenge comes in. It's not about withholding affection. It's about how you give it. It's teasing him in the right moment. It's calling him out with a grin when he says something cocky. It's being sharp enough to push back, light enough to keep things fun, and confident enough to never need to over-impress. When you challenge a man playfully, you're showing him that you're not there to stroke his ego. You're there to connect as equals. You're not dazzled by the surface. You're looking for something real. And if he wants your attention, he's going to have to earn it, not because you're playing games, but because you value yourself. A playful challenge creates tension, the good kind. The kind that makes conversations spark, the kind that makes eye contact feel electric. It's the moment you say, "That's the best line you've got," with a smile, or when you let him know you're not impressed by a flashy story, but you are curious about what's underneath it. That kind of dynamic brings out the best in a man. It makes him want to step up, not just to impress you, but to show you who he really is. Because now he knows he can't coast on charm or looks. He has to show depth. And most importantly, he has to stay present, because you're the kind of woman who will notice if he checks out or gets lazy. The truth is, men love a bit of friction, not emotional drama, but engagement. They want to feel like they're in something alive, not just passively being praised. The more you hold your ground in a playful way, the more they feel excited around you. And when that excitement mixes with respect, desire kicks in. Playful challenge also shows that you're selective. You're not just interested in him because he's giving you attention, you're testing for connection, for compatibility. You're not rushing in to fill space. You're saying, this is fun, but let's see if you can actually meet me where I am. That's incredibly attractive, because it takes a confident woman to flirt like that. It takes someone secure in herself to say, I like you, but I don't need you. And that balance of interest with self-respect is what creates irresistible tension. It's also worth saying that a playful challenge is rooted in kindness. This isn't about putting someone down or acting superior. It's not sarcasm masked as humor. The challenge works when it comes with a smile, when your tone is light, and when it's obvious that you're enjoying the back and forth. It works when he knows you're not testing him to win, but to connect. Sometimes that's as simple as disagreeing with him in a fun way, letting him know you have your own opinions, your own boundaries, your own preferences. You might say, that's cute that you think pineapple belongs on pizza, but I'm going to have to disagree with you on principle. It's low stakes, but high impact. It makes you memorable. And then, when you do give him affection, when you drop the teasing for a sincere compliment or let him know you had a great time, it lands. It means more, because now he knows you don't hand that out to everyone. He earned that moment. And that's what creates emotional reward. A man will always remember how he felt around you. If you made him feel alive, challenged, respected, and never quite sure what was coming next in the best way, he's going to want more. Not because he's trying to win a prize, but because you made the journey feel exciting, real, playful, and worth showing up for. There's a difference between validation and appreciation, and understanding that difference can completely shift how a man feels in your presence. Validation is about needing to be told you're enough. It's about seeking constant reassurance that you're wanted, attractive, good enough to be chosen. Appreciation, on the other hand, is a calm, confident recognition of value, not because you're unsure of yourself, but because you genuinely see something worth acknowledging in another person. Men can feel the difference between the two immediately. When someone is looking for validation, it carries a subtle pressure. There's a quiet demand behind every compliment, attention in every moment. It's not just, do you like me? It's, do you like me enough to make me feel like I'm okay? That kind of energy, even when it's unspoken, creates emotional weight that over time starts to drain connection instead of deepen it. But appreciation, that's effortless. It's warm. It's freely given, not taken. It says, I see you. I admire something in you. I'm not trying to pull something out of you. I'm simply acknowledging what I enjoy about who you are. That energy is magnetic to a man, because when he feels appreciated, he doesn't feel evaluated. He doesn't feel like he's in a constant audition. He feels respected. And when a man feels respected by a woman he's attracted to, it pulls something out of him. He becomes more present. He wants to rise, not because he has to prove anything, but because your appreciation encourages his best. What a lot of people don't realize is that constantly seeking validation is exhausting. Not just for the person giving it, but for the person needing it. When you build a relationship dynamic where your worth is tied to how much someone is praising you, you create dependency. And dependency doesn't feel sexy. It doesn't feel inspiring. It feels like a trap. On the flip side, when you're grounded in your own self-worth, when you already know you're enough, whether he compliments you or not, you show up differently. You're not clinging to every word. You're not anxiously wondering if you're doing too much or too little. You're just there, confident, open, present, and when you offer appreciation from that place, it becomes powerful. It might be something small, like saying, I love how thoughtful you were with that, or you made that moment easier for me. Thank you. Those words, spoken without neediness, go deeper than 100 empty compliments. Because they don't come from a place of wanting attention, they come from presence, from actually noticing him. And that's the secret most people miss. Men want to be seen, not just looked at, but truly seen for who they are and what they're trying to do. When you offer appreciation that reflects you're paying attention, not just to what he does, but to why he does it, it hits different. That's what makes a man feel not just admired, but understood. You're not building him up because you need him to like you. You're noticing him because you already like yourself, and you're letting him earn a place in your world. That balance is incredibly attractive. It tells a man, you're valued here, but I'm not lost without you. I choose to appreciate you, but I don't depend on your response to feel good about me. That choice is what makes the appreciation so meaningful. It's not a transaction. It's not, if I tell him he's amazing, maybe he'll tell me I'm amazing too. It's genuine. It's given without expectation. And that kind of authenticity, that's rare. And rare is unforgettable. The other beauty of appreciation over validation is that it creates safety. A man who constantly feels like he has to perform in order to make someone feel okay will eventually pull away. But a man who feels safe because his efforts are noticed, his presence is acknowledged, and his value is mirrored back to him, will naturally move closer, because now being with you doesn't feel like pressure, it feels like home. That doesn't mean you never want reassurance or recognition in return. It just means you're not building the relationship on a constant hunger for it. You're not putting the burden of your self-worth on his shoulders. And that emotional independence makes your appreciation shine even brighter. So when you see something in him you admire, say it. When he shows up for you, acknowledge it. But do it from a place of strength, not strategy. Let your words carry confidence, not craving, because a woman who can appreciate without needing validation, she stands out. She creates connection without pressure, and she leaves a man feeling inspired, not obligated, to give even more. One of the most underrated forms of attraction isn't about chemistry. It's not about physical looks or even personality on its own. It's about something deeper, something that speaks to a person's path, not just their present. It's shared growth. The feeling that you're not just connecting with someone, but you're growing with them. That being with this person doesn't just feel good, it makes you better. Growth on its own is attractive. You've probably experienced that magnetic energy around someone who's pursuing something meaningful, someone who's learning, building, challenging themselves. That kind of person naturally draws you in. They don't need to be loud or flashy. They just radiate a sense of momentum. They're not stagnant. They're evolving. Now imagine two people like that coming together, not to complete each other, but to amplify each other. That's what shared growth looks like. It's not about being in the same place all the time or having the exact same goals. It's about having the same spirit, the desire to keep becoming more, to keep learning, stretching, expanding emotionally and mentally. When a man senses that you're someone who's on that kind of journey, he feels excited, not intimidated, inspired, especially when he sees that you're not trying to change him, but you are inviting him to rise with you. You're saying, this is the direction I'm heading. Are you someone who wants to build, to grow, to stretch what life can be? That invitation is powerful because it comes from a place of self-respect and vision, not pressure or fear. Growth creates movement in a relationship. It prevents things from going stale. It gives you both something to look forward to, a shared challenge, a project, a mission. That could be anything from building better communication to reading the same book and having deep conversations to encouraging each other's career paths or emotional healing. It doesn't have to be huge, but it does have to be intentional. Men often don't get enough spaces where they feel emotionally supported to grow. They're used to being evaluated by what they've achieved, not who they're becoming. But when he's with someone who sees potential in him, who reflects back his efforts instead of his flaws, something opens up in him. He starts to believe in his own evolution again, not because you pushed him, but because you believed in what was already there. That belief has to go both ways. Shared growth doesn't mean dragging someone up a mountain they don't want to climb. It means checking in and asking, where are you going? And do our paths support each other? Sometimes the answer is no, and that's okay. Because part of growing is knowing when to let go of something that's not aligned. But when the answer is yes, when you're both heading toward a bigger version of yourselves and you can do it side by side, that's when relationships become something far more than just comfort or chemistry. Shared growth also creates accountability, but not in a heavy way. In a healthy relationship, your partner becomes a mirror. They reflect your standards back to you. When you start to lower your bar or drift from your path, they gently call you back, not with criticism, but with love. This isn't who you are. I see more in you. That kind of partnership sharpens you. It supports your highest self. And here's the best part. Growth brings newness. It keeps the relationship fresh. Because as each of you evolves, you keep rediscovering each other. You're not stuck in a loop. You're constantly unfolding new layers, learning new sides of each other, deepening the connection. It's not about staying the same. It's about growing in the same direction. That doesn't mean it's always smooth. Growth is uncomfortable at times. It will challenge both of you. But when you're with someone who's committed to growing with you, not just next to you, you become a team. You face the discomfort together. You support each other's process without needing to fix or control it. And that's what creates depth. That's what builds trust. Because now the relationship isn't just a place to feel good. It's a place to become great. It's a space where both of you feel safe enough to stretch, fall, and rise again, knowing that someone's in it with you. Not to complete your journey, but to walk it with you. When a man sees that you're that kind of woman, curious, open, always expanding, it lights a fire in him. He wants to match your energy, not because you asked him to, but because he knows that being with you means becoming more of himself. And once he feels that kind of partnership, he doesn't want to lose it, because it's not just love, it's transformation. There's a reason people light up around someone who keeps them guessing, in the best way. Not in a confusing or emotionally erratic way, but in a way that keeps things fresh, alive, and ever evolving. That's the power of consistent surprise. It's the art of being slightly unpredictable, not for drama, but for delight. You've probably been around someone who, while totally lovely, felt like they had revealed everything about themselves in the first week. Every story, every opinion, every routine, there was nothing left to discover, and while comfort has its place, mystery is what keeps desire alive. It's what pulls people in and makes them want to keep showing up to see what's next. Consistent surprise doesn't mean being chaotic. It doesn't mean playing games or being emotionally hot and cold. It's about weaving in variety, being dynamic, showing that you're not stuck in a box, not in how you think, how you act, or how you connect. When a man sees that you can keep a relationship emotionally engaging by simply being your multidimensional self, it's captivating. Maybe one day you're playful and teasing, and the next you show a deep insight that makes him stop in his tracks. Maybe you suggest something spontaneous, taking a different route home, trying a new restaurant, introducing him to something he's never done before. These little moments are small, but they create spark. And spark, over time, is what separates a relationship that thrives from one that fades into routine. This doesn't mean you have to constantly be performing or reinventing yourself. In fact, the most attractive kind of surprise often comes from being more of who you already are, showing the sides you normally keep tucked away, letting your quirks, your weird humor, your curiosity, your passions, all of it come out over time. People don't want perfection. They want dimension. They want layers. And when you reveal yourself gradually, piece by piece, it invites him to stay curious, to keep exploring you, not just the facts of your life, but the essence of you, your thought patterns, your emotional depth, the way you see the world. The relationship becomes a journey, not a destination. Men respond powerfully to that, because in a world where many things feel predictable or performative, being with someone who surprises him with realness, who reveals something new when he least expects it, that's rare. That's exciting. It taps into his natural drive to pursue, to discover, to engage. Surprise also creates memorable moments. Think about it. The things we remember most in life are the moments that stood out, the moments that broke the pattern. If you bring those moments into your connection through play, creativity, depth, spontaneity, you give him something to feel, not just observe, and feelings are what make experiences stick. Even subtle surprises count. A text he wasn't expecting, a compliment that's unusually specific, a question that cuts through the surface, or even a shift in your tone that signals you're about to reveal something more vulnerable. These aren't grand gestures, but they carry weight because they show awareness, intention, and most importantly, aliveness. Relationships often fall into autopilot because people stop putting energy into curiosity, but curiosity is what keeps love fresh. If you wake up every day and ask yourself, how can I bring something new today, even if it's small, you create energy in the relationship that doesn't just entertain, it connects. You become someone he wants to keep discovering, someone who makes ordinary days feel extraordinary. And here's the thing, when you bring consistent surprise, you also inspire it in return. He starts wanting to do the same, not to impress you, but because you've modeled a more vibrant way of relating. He sees that being with you means staying awake to possibility. It means never getting lazy about connection. You don't have to be the most adventurous person in the world. You just have to care enough to show up fully, to reveal a little more, ask something new, shake the energy up when it gets stale. Surprise doesn't require a grand plan. It requires attention. And attention is what makes someone feel truly chosen. When a man gets that from you, when he feels that consistent spark of surprise, that freshness of energy, that invitation into something real but never rigid, he doesn't just feel attracted, he feels alive. He starts associating you with excitement, with unpredictability that feels safe. And that combination is rare. It's what makes someone keep coming back, not because they're unsure where they stand, but because they can't wait to see what's next. There's something magnetic about a person who's lit up from within, not just excited about life, but driven by something. Someone who doesn't just wake up and go through the motions, but who moves through the world with direction. Passion by itself is attractive, but passion with purpose? That's a force. It's the difference between fleeting chemistry and deep-rooted connection. Passion is the spark. It's that thing that makes your eyes light up when you talk about it. It's the thing that makes you lose track of time. It's playful, alive. But purpose is the structure that holds that spark in place. It's the why underneath the excitement. And when a man sees both of those qualities working together in a woman, when he feels her passion means something, it changes the way he sees her. She's not just interesting, she's unforgettable. A lot of people think they need to dim their light to be loved, as if being too driven, too focused, too passionate will somehow intimidate someone or push them away. But the truth is, real attraction grows in the presence of depth. When you're turned on by your own life, when you care about something enough to pursue it, even when it's hard, it sends a powerful message. It says, I don't need you to fill my life. I have a life, but I'm excited to see how you might fit into it. That energy creates respect. It tells a man that you have standards, that your time has value, that you're not looking for someone to give you purpose. You already have it. And from that place, your attention becomes a gift, not a demand. He knows you're not choosing him out of boredom or loneliness, but from a place of alignment. This doesn't mean your purpose has to be some massive world-changing mission. It doesn't mean you need to be running a company or saving lives. Purpose can show up in small, beautiful ways. Maybe it's the way you invest in your family. Maybe it's how deeply you care about creating meaningful conversations. Maybe it's your art, your writing, your desire to grow emotionally and help others do the same. Purpose is simply a sense of direction, a deeper why behind what you love. When your passion is anchored in that kind of meaning, it becomes grounding rather than chaotic. You're not just chasing highs. You're building something. You're growing. And when a man sees that you have this deeper relationship with your own life, it calls him to look at his life. It makes him wonder, am I bringing that same energy to my world? Not because you said he should, but because your presence challenges him in the best way. And that's the key. You're not trying to push him. You're not trying to fix him. You're just living in alignment with your own energy. And that invites him to rise, to meet you at the level you're already playing on. You become someone who inspires growth, not by talking about it, but by embodying it. There's also something wildly attractive about someone who's committed to something bigger than just the relationship. That's the paradox. When you're not obsessed with just finding love, you often become the most lovable, because now you're not reaching for someone to complete you. You're inviting someone to walk beside you. That's not clinginess. That's power. Purpose also gives relationships more dimension. It creates shared momentum. You're not just connecting around dates, conversations, and attraction. You're connecting around dreams, values, vision. You start to inspire each other's missions. You bring energy into each other's lives that goes beyond emotional comfort. You bring direction. And that makes the relationship feel meaningful, not just fun. The truth is, anyone can be charming. Anyone can create chemistry. But not everyone can hold attraction over time. What keeps someone invested long term is emotional depth. It's feeling like there's always something to learn, something to build together, something to move toward. Passion without purpose burns out, but passion with purpose builds something lasting, something magnetic. So when you show up in your passion, not just excited, but anchored, you shift the room. You become the kind of person who people don't just admire, but remember. You don't need to chase. You don't need to perform. You just need to keep living in alignment with what lights you up and trust that the right person will be drawn to that fire, not to dim it, but to walk beside it. There's something disarming, powerful, and unforgettable about someone who can express what they actually feel. Not the version that sounds perfect, not the one that wins approval, but the raw, human truth of it. Authentic emotion isn't weakness. It's strength wrapped in vulnerability. It's clarity without armor. And it's one of the most potent forces of connection you'll ever access. A lot of people are taught to hide their feelings, to put on a smile when they're hurting, to downplay what matters to them so they don't come across as too much. Over time, this creates emotional distance, not just between them and others, but between them and themselves. And then we wonder why our relationships feel flat, why we're craving depth but can't seem to reach it. The answer usually lies in emotional honesty. When you express how you really feel, whether it's joy, fear, desire, hurt, gratitude, or disappointment, you let someone see you, not the curated version, the real you. And when you do that with confidence and grace, it doesn't push people away. It draws them in, especially men. Because whether they admit it or not, men crave depth too. They're often just waiting for permission to go there. And when they see you go first, not in a dramatic, over-the-top way, but in a grounded, real way, it gives them space to do the same. Think about it. When someone says something that hits a deep emotional note, not just what happened, but how it made them feel, you lean in. You remember it. Because it's rare. In a world full of people trying to sound okay, someone telling the truth stands out. That doesn't mean oversharing or dumping emotion as a way to get attention. Authenticity isn't about blurting out every feeling the moment you have it. It's about